Live with Dale Shornack and Christina Mendonza.
Thanks for joining us. We begin with some breaking news, a fire in Stockton.
At a food processing plant, and our Tim Daly is live on the scene with the very latest for us. Tim?
Yeah, Jennifer, anybody in Stockton who looked up at towards East Stockton at about 4 o'clock this afternoon would have seen a huge column of black smoke, and that's where we are in East Stockton at the Unilever plant. This also used to be known as the Lipton Foods plant. It's on Waterloo Road. We're behind the main facility where there's a large storage yard where thousands of plastic crates are used to store tomato paste and other products, and all that material is what caught fire at about 4 o'clock. Because this is plastic, we're told by Stockton fire officials it burns very hot, very fast, very smoky, and also very toxic. Now, this smoke dissipated pretty quickly by about 4:15. Most of it was actually gone, and so there wasn't really any danger to the surrounding neighborhoods, this smoke going straight up into the air. But as I say, it was quite a sight from about 4 to about 4:30 or so. The cause of this, not yet known. It might be suspicious, though. There's not a lot of possible sources of fire out in that area. We're told by Stockton Fire that transients are commonly spotted back here, so that might be one of the possible causes that Stockton fire officials will be looking into. And as we come back out live, you can see there are still some flames on top of those crates. Stockton Fire Department personnel still on the scene. They say they're likely to be out here for several hours tonight, making sure that all the little hot spots inside those plastic crates are taken care of. But as you can see, most of this fire is knocked down from earlier this afternoon. That's the latest. Jennifer and Christina, back to you.
Well, that's good, but I did notice the firefighters weren't wearing any kind of mask, and they're standing right there in that smoke. But I guess it is cleared enough for them now.
Yeah, well, you know, these guys are always making sure to take care of themselves. If it were dangerous to them, they would not be doing that. Most of the smoke, like I say, is going straight up. It's kind of breezy, so that's good.
All right. Thank you, Tim.
You bet.
It is a drastic move for what's considered a centerpiece to revitalize Sacramento's downtown. After years of negotiation, city government is poised to use eminent domain to take over several properties on the K Street Mall. But the landowner says he's going to fight. News 10's Mark Hedlund joins us live with the story. Mark?
Well, Christina, it used to be the government could only use eminent domain to take property for public works type projects like a freeway or something along those lines. But this time, the city of Sacramento wants to take several commercial properties here on K Street between 7th and 9th Street and basically turn them over to another developer and give that person a shot at rehabbing them. Depending on who you talk to, it's either the best way to revitalize downtown or it's a strong-arm tactic against the owner. State worker Michelle Olson walks the mall almost every day. For years, she's been struck by the vibrancy of some of it compared to empty storefronts on 7th and 8th, padlocked doors.
It's a real transition. I mean, it starts out really nice. I come down from 14th by the community center, and you can just see it as you walk down here. 9
properties on the edge needing some kind of redevelopment. That includes a few places like Original Gear, where business people are trying to make a go of it.
The way the street is, I mean, stores are empty, you know. It's kind of scary, you know, no lights in the street, you know. I mean, it's so dark at night, you know. I'm scared to work in the street, you know.
So much potential not realized.
Yeah, as far as needing something to be done, that's obvious.
And so the city is ready to take over these properties through eminent domain. But property owner Mo Mahana says he still needs a chance.
This is the vision of what we were hoping K Street would look like.
Mahana says the city is forcing him to give up the 700 block in exchange for the empty corner at 8th and K.
I think they want to see progress, and they don't want to work with us. They want to work with out-of-town developers. They think out-of-town developers can do better.
We haven't seen that he has been that interested in redeveloping properties.
City leaders say after years of trying to work it out, it's time to make things happen, with or without Mohana.
It's to the Sacramento's interest that we create a K Street that's safe and vibrant, and it's a place for our residents and visitors to come. Right now, as you can see, it really isn't that.
Now, after years of negotiations that went nowhere, this was all going to be coming to a head before the Sacramento City Council had a public hearing tomorrow night. But late today, that hearing was postponed. It's been delayed for 1 week. And the city says it is still willing to keep negotiating with property owner Mo Mohana over this whole thing. So the threat of eminent domain is still there, and now certainly the stakes are being raised. Reporting live in downtown Sacramento, I'm Mark Hedlund. Back to you.
All right, hopefully they can work it out. Thank you very much, Mark. If the government wants to improve the tax base, they can take your house. In a 5-4 vote, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled the use of eminent domain powers is not limited to public projects, such as schools and highways. In June of 2005, the court ruled against a group of homeowners in Connecticut who fought a move by the city officials to seize their homes to make way for new economic development projects. The Supreme Court ruled that improving a community's tax base is sufficient cause. Those opposed said cities should not be allowed to uproot families to solve economic problems.
A third person has now died following a high-speed crash of a stolen vehicle that was being pursued by sheriff's deputies. The crash happened yesterday afternoon just north of Modesto. The Stanislaus County Sheriff's Department says 26-year-old Francisco Martinez was at the wheel of the stolen SUV when he slammed into another car that was coming toward him. A passenger with Martinez was killed, as was the driver of the other vehicle. And then late today, the passenger of that car died as well. Martinez was allegedly trying to get away from deputies who were about a half-mile behind when the collision took place. He'll likely face 3 charges of murder.
This whole thing, if he had just pulled over, he probably would have been charged with the possession of a stolen vehicle and the violation of parole, which again are serious charges. But you know, if you just were stopped, we would have had 3 other people that still would have been alive today.
40-year-old Heather Miller of San Leandro and 53-year-old Stephen Jackson of Modesto were the innocent victims in that other vehicle. 20-year-old Brandon Ellis was the passenger in the stolen SUV. The sheriff's office says its deputies were following department policy in the chase and were actually falling behind and about to drop the pursuit when the crash happened. Authorities are still trying to figure out if a body found in Laguna Creek this weekend and is that of a South Sacramento man who's been missing now for more than 2 weeks. The body was recovered from the creek, which dive teams were searching for. They were looking for 41-year-old Matthew Seibert. It was discovered northeast of Seibert's Stockton Boulevard property. Meantime, detectives are asking the public for information about 36-year-old Arthur Charles Carnes. He's described as a person of interest in this case. If you have any information, please call the Sacramento Sheriff's Department.
The man who fell to his death yesterday during the San Francisco 49ers game is from Roseville. Investigators say 31-year-old Torrey Kretschmann had gone to the upper concourse just before halftime. That's when he jumped to sit up on a railing and apparently misjudged the distance. Kretschmann fell about 20 feet onto a concrete ramp below. The death is being investigated as an accident. Michael Vick will stay behind bars until 2009. That decision today from a federal judge who handed the former NFL star a tough sentence, saying Vick lied about killing dogs and about using marijuana. At his federal prison sentencing today, lawyers for the former Atlanta Falcons football star say they anticipated the sentence of 23 months in prison, but they hope he will get out sooner.
We're hopeful that with good time, Michael would be released in 18 months. Michael has known from the very beginning that there were severe consequences to the bad judgment he used in engaging in dogfighting. He now knows that when he returns, he cannot in any way do anything that would injure an animal or that would otherwise show that he is not a good member of society.
Vick appeared in court today in a jail uniform where he apologized to the court, his family, and children. The 27-year-old Pro Bowler has been suspended indefinitely from the NFL. It is uncertain if he will ever play again.
Well, if you were expecting any friends or family to arrive today from the Midwest and East Coast, chances are their flight was delayed, all thanks to a massive ice storm that has much of the country in a freezing grip. Jeremy Hubbard reports now from icy Chicago.
A deep layer of ice covered windshields and snapped trees from the plains to the northeast. Across Oklahoma, icicles dangled from stoplights that aren't working because there's no electricity. This slick interstate was littered with slide-offs, and this restaurant worker spent the morning doing the back-breaking work of scraping sidewalks. But there's a limit to his goodwill.
Like the front of the sidewalk and the steps so people can get up and down in. I ain't gonna do that whole parking lot.
Up to an inch of ice buckled power lines and blacked out electricity to more than 500,000 homes and businesses. In Oklahoma and Missouri, where a state of emergency was declared, power crews say it could be a week and a half before everyone's electricity is restored.
But as you drive through neighborhoods, some of them fall under the category of catastrophe. In some neighborhoods, this is a horrific storm that these people are never going to forget.
At Chicago's O'Hare Airport, 400 flights were canceled. Elsewhere in the Midwest, there were delays and cancellations due to power outages and icy runways. From Texas to New Hampshire, all the shoveling and scraping has left some people questioning where they live.
Well, I'm going to Arizona for Christmas, and maybe I just won't come back.
And it's not over yet. Another winter blast is in the forecast for tonight. Places like Chicago and parts of the upper Midwest could get another half-inch of ice. Jeremy Hubbard, ABC News, Chicago.
All right, and Darla will be up with our forecast shortly. Coming up next on News 10 at 5, gotta have your caffeine. The state is looking into labels warning pregnant women about consuming certain types of high-octane drinks. Details next.
And then later, with all the bad news lately about foreclosures, how about some good news? We'll bring you the story of a family who used a lot of sweat equity to build the home of their dreams. News 10 at 5 returns in 2 minutes.
Closed captioning is brought to you in part by Sleep Train Mattress Centers, your ticket to a better night's sleep.
Thinking green for the holidays? Then think Honda, the greenest car company in America. With earth-friendly models like the Fit, Civic, and Civic Hybrid, you can go green and still go in style and save plenty of green at the pump. And right now, during Happy Honda Days, well-qualified customers can get 2.9% APR financing on all new Civics and Civic Hybrids. But hurry, this offer ends soon. See your Northern California Honda dealer today.
Think Honda for the holidays. It's Happy Honda Days. She's got your dimples on.
Yes, she does. All your priceless memories from yesterday. Go, Philly, go! From today. Come on, shoot it! Even tomorrow. All super easy to store, share, and edit with your own personal photo studio. The HP Pavilion Slimline S3200T with 100 free Snapfish prints. Other desktops start at $299.99. The computer is personal again.
Some women get lifts or peels or injections. Then there are the women who use Regenerist. Not for surgical results, of course, but for eyes that look brighter, lifted. For age spots that seem to disappear. And for skin that looks beautifully regenerated. For women who don't want to be poked or prodded, Olay Regenerist. Love the skin you're in.
It's time for News 10's Coats for Kids drive-through blitz. News 10 is going to be all over town December 19th collecting your coats. News 10's Dan Elliott and Melissa Crowley will be at Tri-Counties Bank on Arden Way with Smooth Jazz. Or drop off your coats with News 10's Alicia Malaby and Dana Howard at the Sunrise Mall and Sunrise Marketplace with 10790 End. Or News 10's Patty Souza and Angel Cardenas here at the News 10 studios with Quad 106.5. It's News 10's Coats for Kids drive-through blitz. This is News 10 at 5.
More than 500 illegal guns are off the California streets thanks to a statewide crackdown on convicted felons and other people who are not allowed to own firearms. Attorney General Jerry Brown announced today that sweeps conducted by state and local law enforcement since June targeted about 1,000 illegal gun owners. Most, he says, purchased the guns legally but were later barred from owning guns because they were convicted of various crimes or found to be mentally ill. The crackdown is not over. Authorities plan to investigate about 9,000 others in the coming months.
Well, the state of California is going after caffeine. The Office of Environmental Hazard is investigating whether energy drinks that contain caffeine should be given a toxic warning label.
The warning would apply to pregnant women. News 10's Marcy Brightwell is here to explain what that all means.
Well, the state requires warning labels on hundreds of products that are considered to be cancer-causing or potentially toxic to pregnant women. And today, the EPA decided to investigate whether some caffeine products should be added to that list. We're not talking about coffee or tea here. Those contain naturally occurring caffeine. Rather, the state is looking at products like energy drinks and some colas that contain the artificial stimulant. Today, a committee within the Office of Environmental Hazard Assessment ordered further study of those suspect products. That's the first step in a very long process that could take more than a year.
Caffeine is listed a year or more down the line. There would be no warning labels on coffee or tea or chocolates, only on products that have artificially added caffeine, such as colas, energy drinks, and some other products.
Now, the state decided to conduct further research after reviewing nearly 70 scientific studies. 52 of those studies showed the caffeine posed a potential hazard to pregnant women. 5 showed no impact at all, and the others were inconclusive. The state also decided today to consider whether bisphenol A should be added to the state's toxic list. Now, that's the chemical that is often used to harden plastics in children's toys. We do want to point out, though, a few things. Almost everyone at today's hearings agreed that drinking moderate levels of caffeine is still considered safe for pregnant women. The question is whether higher levels of caffeine could be harmful. That's considered to be more than 200 milligrams a day, so it's about a cup and a half of coffee.
So they would label these energy drinks as opposed to allowing the woman's doctor to tell them, don't drink them.
There would be a label. It's not a ban. The state, if they went ahead with this in about a year, they would require those labels on those drinks to say, ladies who are pregnant, you might want to consult with your doctor. It could be dangerous.
Okay. All right. We'll
Thank you,
see.
Marcy.
Thank you, Marcy.
Still ahead on News 10 at 5, low-income families realizing the American dream.
It's a neighborhood being built by the homeowners themselves, and today, some of them got the keys. Their story's coming up next. Plus,
it was pretty nice out there today. Temperatures, however, already cooling down. 49 degrees right now in Sacramento. Still in the 50s throughout, 48 in Marysville. Winds are going to pick up tonight. I'll tell you all about a wind advisory when I return after this.